All right, welcome to Dave Cooper Live. Breakthrough Energy Ventures, founded by Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, to name a few, recently contributed to the Series A Investum in Vantum Global, a panel technology company constructing affordable, energy-efficient homes on a large scale. First launched in South America and the Caribbean, Vantum will use its new funding to build 15, that's right, folks, 15 factories over the next 7 years, with plans already in place for Arizona, California, Texas, and the Dakotas. And today we are going to welcome Vantem CEO Chris Anderson as he joins us to discuss the design and materials used to build these volumetric modular units, the factory developer business model, Vantum's global plans and factory rollout. But first, we're not able to deliver these informative conversations without our sponsors. So today we want to give a couple big shout outs to Carson Holmquist and the team at Stream Logistics, Brett McPhail from Brave Control Solutions, and Paul Short from CombiLift. Stream Logistics is experts in high-stake freights, and they are the perfect choice for projects with timelines and a specific delivery sequence, shipments with high complexity and unique constraints. The new methods of constructions need new transportation solutions, and they are up for the challenge. Visit them at streamlogistics.com. And heck, we can't move any of these modules around without our good friends from CombiLift, the largest global manufacturer of multi-directional forklifts and straddle carriers. They are a leader in long load handling solutions, offering a free warehouse and site optimization design service. More than 50,000 CombiLift units have been sold in over 85 countries since CombiLift was established in 1998. And we got Brave Control Solutions, where offsite manufacturing systems that do more than just improve productivity. They have a unique approach to industrialized construction, a lineup of flexible automation systems specifically designed for the construction industry, empowered by CAD to Fab, and turnkey solutions for 3D volumetric assembly, structural insulated panels, finished wall assemblies, MEP component processing assembly, kitting, and storage. Go to thinkbrave.com to learn more. All right, without further ado, let's bring Chris into the conversation. Chris, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Dave. Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you on. It's awesome to talk about this. And what's even more awesome is the fact that we have all of these big names really looking at an industry that I love so much and investing their money and time into it. And somehow you figured out a way to get their attention. I'm not sure how that happened, but I'm looking forward to learning. But Chris, before we get started, we ask everybody on this show that we want to know everything about them from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Do not leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or we will call your mother and have her on the show with us today. And then that might embarrass you a little bit. But either way, you have 2 minutes to do it. Give us a little bit of your background, and then we'll jump into the company.
Great. Well, hey, in case my mom's listening, hey, Mom. So I actually grew up in South America. My parents were in the Peace Corps back in the 60s and moved to Bolivia. And they're actually retired there. They're still there. So I actually grew up in the jungle of Bolivia as a kid in the Amazon rainforest, and then went to college in the U.S. After that, right out of college, started my first startup, which had a little bit to do with where I grew up. We built a really nice company doing sustainably harvested wood products, mostly construction products, things like doors, windows, flooring, and had factories all over South America, shipping to people like Home Depot, Lowe's, and into Europe. And it's something that we exited from about 12, 13 years ago. And it's really that company where we created the fundamental IP that we used to launch Vantum. This product that we're now using to make the volumetric modular systems came out of that endeavor. And so that's my second startup, which is, now it's not a flash in the pan. We've been doing this for about 10 years, but ready to launch into these fun things that you're talking about.
Yeah, we're excited to talk about it. So let's just hop into it. If you are out there and you're watching, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. So get your tweets on if you're out there. And also, if you're not following Chris Anderson, if you're not following Vantum, you got to go there after the show and make sure you follow, like, and share their content and their information. And as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel, because if you miss it live, you can watch it later and you will get notified every time. So make sure you hit that notification button. We appreciate everybody out there that joins us for these live conversations. All right, Chris, let's hop into it. What is unique about how Vantum builds volumetric modular units?
The fundamental difference is that we do it in a simpler way. So we, rather than start with wood framing or steel framing, we have a proprietary structural panel. It's a cementitious panel. So we build these modular units using the panel as the floor, the roof, the walls, the entire cube, the entire structure, which it has a lot less parts, right? So this panel doesn't require any exterior cladding. It doesn't require additional drywall on the inside. So, it's paint ready. And so that simplicity makes it faster, easier, and cheaper to manufacture our modular units than kind of the traditional way that it's usually being done. With the huge additional benefit on top of all of that, that they are very, very thermally efficient, because the whole center layer of our panel, our structural insulated panel, is insulation, and so they are very, very effective. There aren't any studs and things that interrupt it, making thermal bridges, right? So we're able to build these modules at a really good cost and achieve even net zero energy ratings with the system that we use.
All right, so hold the horses here, right? So you're telling me, Chris, that the inside is not gypsum; it's a different material. The outside is already in place. I just had this conversation while we were in Atlanta at the Building Systems Summit just yesterday about somebody's going to come in and disrupt the gypsum market from the modular volumetric world, and it sounds like that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I mean, some people might be, familiar with structural insulated panels as a product, right? It's usually OSB that
Sure.
kind of skins on the outside. And so what we did was replace that OSB with a product that's a cement board that has all the same structural qualities, but it doesn't have mold susceptibility. It's not susceptible to mold like drywall is, or even wood and termites and so forth. So it is something that absolutely replaces gypsum, and also replaces things like OSB as a structural material.
Sure. And the assembly of this wall system that you have, is that being done in your manufacturing, or are you using outsourcing to do that?
No, we do absolutely everything vertically integrated. So we make our own board, that structural board that we were just talking about, at a centralized location, and ship that to our different modular factories. But the modular factory then takes that board, makes the panel. There's a whole panel system inside that factory, and then takes it to the final modular finished product.
Perfect. And so how many lines do you guys run in your factories now? How many units are you putting out?
Well, we currently have, as you mentioned in the introduction, we started our rollout in 2008 in South America. So our lines are overseas. We've got about 4 of them running currently. We've done about 3 million square feet of product to date. And it's kind of that experience that we'll be using as we roll things out in the U.S.
I love it. I love it. So what's unique about Vantum's business model?
Well, aside from the product itself being unique, like we just talked about, the business model itself, what we do is we partner with developers. So we find really strong developers that have a healthy pipeline in markets that we're interested in entering into, and we build a joint venture with them. So we build a company that is owned both by themselves and us, a 50-50 joint venture, and we build a plant right there in their market to build these modular units and to supply the pipeline, the market that they have already developed. So, for the developer, it's a great deal, right? Because most developers would love to get into offsite construction, but don't always have the know-how to do it, and that's what we provide. And not only know-how, but we also invest right alongside them.
So that's great. So you go out, you find partners that are already in the developing world that are building, multifamily units or single family units, and then you partner with them to help them get to the next level, be more efficient, build more product, more heads on beds, and hopefully help with the affordable housing issue that's going on as well.
That's exactly our aim, right? So what they're able to do is not only de-risk their operations, right, by bringing things off site and having them more under control, but they're also able to hit price points that currently are pretty tough to hit otherwise, right? And being able to do that in an energy efficient product. It really brings a whole lot of benefit to their business model as well.
Sure. And you already have some markets picked out here in the United States for some of these new factories starting to be, I guess built, or maybe they are built. Are you able to talk about any of the developers or the markets you're currently working in here?
Yeah, so we've got some initial developers and deals that have been worked out. The first one is in Arizona with a really high quality developer there by the name of Caliber. They will be putting a factory along with them in Phoenix that'll be servicing Arizona and a little bit of a broader area as well. We also have factories on the board with developers in the Dakotas and Minnesota, Texas, Florida, and California, which I think you mentioned kind of at the opening.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of other people interested in having us put factories in some of the other important areas of the country, and we're certainly looking at that right now.
Yeah, for sure. So you're talking about, where you're going now. What does the future look like as far as your expansion and the people you're working with? Is it always going to be, is it single family home? Is it multifamily? Is it going to go further than that?
Well, initially our sweet spot is single family, multifamily townhomes, and multifamily apartments up to 3 stories. That's really what our sweet spot is. Now, currently, all of our code approvals include that. We are pursuing code approvals to go to 4 and 5 stories and beyond in the future, but that's where we'll be starting.
Great. And do you have any product in the ground here currently that people could see?
Not yet, but if you wait till the Q1 of next year, you will be able to see some products. So,
and that's like tomorrow.
Yeah, it's just around the corner. We have a demo facility that we are just finishing up along with our partners up in Minnesota, where we'll be putting out our first units, with the Vantum product, and we have a first development that's kind of the demo development that's right outside Minneapolis that we'll start building for in Q1.
I love it. So listen, if you're just joining us, we have the CEO Chris Anderson on with Vantum, and they are looking to open 15 new factories. They got some of the biggest investors behind them in the world. And this is an awesome conversation because we need more people like Chris and his teams doing the great work they're doing for our industry to get to the next level. And I'm super excited about this. So if you're out there, please like and share, and please follow Chris and everything he's doing. So Chris, tell me a little bit about how this whole concept was developed.
Right. So at the outset, we talked about the company I had before, another startup that was focused on construction products. We were doing sustainably harvested wood products, doors, windows, floors, stuff like that. And one of the things that struck me, because we had some really automated, very sophisticated factories doing this stuff, and we'd be shipping these doors and windows to job sites, and when you go to the job site, we had our window that was done to 1,000th of an inch tolerance, and and you'd show up at the job site and they'd be 4 inches off, right? So I mean, that was the first time it just really occurred to me, boy, there's got to be a better way to do this, to do the actual construction part of it, and bring kind of modern technology and productivity to the table. And that's when we put together a working group to try to figure out how to do that. And the kind of the approach that we took was, we don't want to figure out how to just automate traditional construction, right? Because it'd be kind of like saying, well, let's automate agriculture and then end up making a four-legged mechanical horse instead of, rethinking things and doing and putting in a tractor. So, we really started from the bottom of the system and created something completely different, which is a panel-based product, and really focused a lot of time, a lot of money on developing that board that we talked about a little bit ago. That's really the fundamental important piece to this structural panel that we make. And kind of the material that we ended up landing on is it's in the family of the same of the ceramic tiles that were used on the nose cone of the space shuttle, right? I mean, they're very structural, they're fire resistant, all these things that we were looking for. That's where things, the genesis of this idea. When we exited the other company and sold it, we kept this idea behind. And joined forces with an initial private equity fund by the name of Tem Capital, and just a great guy that is the chairman of our board still, John Preston. He used to be the head of monetizing all the intellectual property for MIT for something like 20 years. And he recognized the potential of what we were doing. So he invested in us originally. This was about 12 years ago now. And we spent the first 6, 7, 8 years doing all the testing and getting everything ready to take it to market.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to pull your website up here so everybody can kind of see a little bit of an inside look. But, why the focus on energy efficiency? It's all, this is your homepage, energy efficient, prefab, simplified.
Well, I think we all see it now. Climate change and the need to address energy inefficiency. So, we see this most accentuated overseas, where people are building still with solid concrete with zero insulation. So really kind of the spark of this idea came from seeing what is being done in South America and so forth. But even as we look at the US, the energy efficiency levels that we'd like to see aren't there. And so we just saw this huge opportunity of not only addressing the cost and the speed of construction, but also introducing a much, much higher level of insulation to address, something that I've always believed, since we started this, would be a really important part of our business model, which was bringing energy efficiency to the table. It wasn't really a strong selling point when we started this 10, 12 years ago, right? This was not at front of mind to everybody like it is today. But I think that, the market is catching up to us in a way, something that we were thinking about before.
So we're looking at, a cut of the panel system, right? A traditional constructed panel, 2x4, 2x6 exterior walls, all the, sheathing that needs to go on the exterior, and then the exterior cladding, and then again on the interior. So talk to us a little bit about the one on the right. It looks like it's only 3 layers.
Right. So again, for those that have worked with structural insulated panels, traditional ones, you notice it is a structural insulated panel. It's 3 members. So you have 2 outer skins that are adhered to the structural insulation layer on the middle. And this ends up working like an I-beam. That's what makes these things so structural, is that once you put these 3 together, think of the 2 skins on the outside like the flanges of an I-beam, and the core as the center flange of the I-beam. And that's how it works. So when you stand this panel up, it's like standing an I-beam up. Very, very structural. That panel that you see there on the screen, it can resist 20 to 40 tons of compression. We can load that panel, each one of those, with 20 to 40 tons of weight. Just tremendously structural for something that's only 3 parts glued together.
Yeah, that is tremendously structural. Let's go to a question. You got time for a question for us here, Chris? We got somebody in the audience that I want to get to here. We have Carol. I'm not sure how to say the last name, Batij. So if I messed that up, I do apologize. How do you deal with services in your panel?
So electrical and plumbing, they run through the panel. So I don't know, Dave, if you can go back to that picture. If you have it,
sure can.
You'll see we build the panel with wire chases. You see those wire chases there, the kind of channels that are built into already built in. So we run the electrical through there, and plumbing. We build special panels that already have all the plumbing, say for a bathroom. They're already done on the line and go to the production line ready to go.
So you are delivering full modular volumetric with full MEP installation already in place, other than where it has to connect on site.
Exactly. Yeah. So everything that you need and all the finishes are done in the factory setting. Yeah.
Sure. And talk to me a little bit about the efficiency of shipping these, because you don't have the same weight loads. My guess is it's going to save on energy and gas and everything else. I can't imagine this weighs as much as a wood structure.
They weigh less, and you definitely have efficiencies on the shipping. And I would say the bigger efficiencies actually end up being on the foundation systems, since they're so much lighter, particularly in hurricane zones or earthquake zones where those lateral forces are important. The fact that this is a lighter structure lets you use much less expensive foundations.
That's great. I absolutely love it. So let's talk a little bit about, the breakthrough energy investment in Vantum. What was the thought of this investment that came into Vantum, and, why the interest?
Well, I think the interest was mutual. We were looking for a great partner to bring on board for this U.S. rollout to put these plants in the U.S. And Breakthrough Energy, their focus is on investing in companies that can make a really meaningful difference in climate change issues, in particular carbon reduction. So, when you look at construction globally, it is about 40% of carbon emissions. In residential construction itself is 20% of global emissions. It's a huge emitter. And so, when you look at what Vantum can really bring to the table, it's not only that we have a lower carbon footprint for the actual homes that we build, but also the most important part is that by reducing that energy use, particularly over the 30, 40, 50-year time frame that you usually calculate, you have a tremendous carbon reduction impact. And that's what Breakthrough Energy invests in.
Yeah, for sure. And let's just put this up quickly, and then there's another question I want to get to. But when we look at the board of investors on Breakthrough Energy, I mean, these are big names. I mean, Jeff Bezos. I mean, are you drinking beers with Jeff Bezos? Come on.
All the time. You bet. Exactly. I'll be on one of those rockets soon. Don't worry.
Yeah, there you go.
No, it's absolutely a who's who of people in business and in government. The network, and it's not only the people, Dave, that you see on the screen here, it's the people that these people know. So the network that has come available to us by working with Breakthrough and having Breakthrough on board with us is tremendous. I mean, and it's not just in the US, it's just this global reach. It's been tremendous for us.
Yeah, it is. It is amazing for sure. So there is a question that is coming through for LinkedIn, but for whatever reason, it is not coming in through our show here, but Jennifer has it. DTE Material asks Jose, hey, Jose, what type of rigid foam do you use for the insulation? XPS ?
A good close guess. We use EPS, so close cousin to XPS. It's a high density version of EPS, it provides when you make it right and use the right raw materials, it provides a wonderful thermal insulation layer that is also highly structural when you put it together in a SIP panel.
For sure. Jose, thank you so much for that question. Really, really do appreciate it. And for those of you out there, we will flash up here some of the other comments and questions here in just a little bit. So stick around. I see a lot of you out there. There's a ton of you watching today from all the different channels. So we do appreciate you. Make sure you go and like and subscribe everything Chris Anderson and Vantum does. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right. I love it. So you guys have already been successful in South America. Why did Vantum begin its rollout overseas?
Well, the short answer to that was that when we began the rollout, it was 2008. Not a great time to start rolling something out that was housing related. So as we looked around, it made a lot more sense to roll out overseas. Fortunately, also, I have my business history to that point was very heavily international. So a good network overseas to start with. So we started out in South America, where again I've got I grew up down there and so forth. So it was a natural place to start. But now that we've really proven the system out in these beachhead markets, the U.S. is the biggest market in the world, and we're really excited to to sink our teeth into the opportunity and really start making a difference on some of the same problems that we've seen in South America that we have in the U.S. too.
I second your sentiments on that. I'm excited for it. We need thousands of factories in this country to really make a dent in what's going on, I believe, and to really bring the cost down. So let's go and check out some of the comments that we have going on here and say hello to a few people that are tuning in. Hey, Greg Leha, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. We got Michael Bruce. Good afternoon, Dave. Hey, if you need lasers to scan your foundation, that's the guy to do it right there. He's doing amazing things. So thank you for joining us. Oh, look at this. We got Osama Alabi joining us. Now, this is a guy that has a whole lot of knowledge. So thank you for today's show. Having more and larger organizations entering industrialized construction will help achieve critical mass to get the tipping point for transformation. So I completely agree. Osama, awesome to see you. Thank you for joining us. Look at this. Knighted by the Queen. Han Richard Evans, love from London, you guys. There is so much going on in London right now. We just did a trip to London, and we're showcasing so many long time established modular companies that are over there. But what advice would you give to those in the space that are coming into the space so they are set up for success? And I think that's where we're going to go right now, because there are some big names that have gone under over the last couple of years, and in
Right.
London that's happened too. And here in the United States, what's the secret sauce, Chris? Come on, give it out.
Well, and let me just shout out there to Richard that you were just talking about. He's helping us with some projects in the UK and beyond as well. So but to your question, I think the key is that you have to rethink the system from the ground up. It's that example that I gave before. If you're only going to try to automate traditional construction, in my humble opinion, that's not good enough. You really have to rethink the system and figure out ways that are more natural for the type of automation that we're looking for to increase productivity dramatically. And that is critical. I'd love to see more people doing it, because I think that we all together will have a bigger impact on reducing costs and making it possible to make headway on the housing deficit that we've got. But you have to rethink the system.
Right. Well, we do have to think differently, because the way we've been doing hasn't been working now, has it?
Well, I mean, you look at productivity in the construction industry, and of all of the major industries in the world, it's the only one where there have been no productivity gains over the last 30 years, and so that tells you a whole lot.
It does tell you a whole lot, right? History is a great place to learn, for sure. For sure. All right, because I love my people that are out there that support us. So Carol says you pronounce her name Beaky. So Carol Beaky. All right. Hopefully I'll remember that. Thank you, Carol, for correcting me. She had a follow-up question. Have you had any issues with delamination during this process of trial and error?
No, what we do, we use a very specific type of adhesive. It's one that's used it's been used a long time in the auto and aerospace industries. So it's a proven adhesive with a proven system. And it's, if you want to get really wonky, it's ACO5 certified. That means it's a structural adhesive.
That is awesome. Well, it's a great question, because delamination is an issue on some products through the years, but technology has advanced so much. And the fact that you guys already have been building a ton of these in South America and other places, I think you got it figured out. I hope. All right, Greg Ugaldi, great job, Dave and Jed. Good info, Chris. Greg, if you don't know Chris, you guys should know each other. Greg is the past chairman of the National Association of Home Builders. He is the guy that updates the Secretary of Housing and the President of the United States a couple times a year when he was in office. But he is the past now, but he is still very heavily involved in everything that happens. So, Greg, we love you, man. Thanks for always tuning in and showing us your support. All right. All the way from Poland, Tomasz Lewandowski. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us from Poland. Well, that was nice of you there, hon, Richard Evans. King Dave. Well, heck, I think there's a new king over there now. So, but I can wear a dress. I'll be a queen if I need to. Who knows? Have some fun with it. All right. Here we go. So we have Mr. Vin from YouTube. How have you resolved the two big problems with volumetric? One, transporting large boxes, and two, how to make the volumes work across all lots, sizes, and designs? That's a good question.
Very good question. I think the first mistake that some make is to try to do everything. So we don't. We focus very tightly on single family and then multifamily up to 3 stories, and we define very carefully the box sizes that we produce. That is important. You need repetition. Henry Ford, when he started, the production lines for automotive, I mean, that whole concept goes back to then. You cannot do everything. So we choose what we do well. And then in terms of transportation, you are transporting larger boxes, but the efficiencies that you have by manufacturing, offsite and doing it in a factory, you're suddenly not moving teams of people to the job sites, and all the materials to the job sites. That is actually much more inefficient and has more transportation costs embedded in it than it does to move those from the factory to the job site. And having, so it's actually more efficient when you look at the total cost.
Great question. Thank you, Mr. Vin. Appreciate that. All right. Looks like we're heading to France now. We got Henry Mickelberg. Question. Look at he followed my instructions from another show. Put the Q there. No, I like Henry. Henry's one of the smartest guys out there. Given the deep pockets of the board investors, why not go fully vertically integrated? Buy the land, develop, do the GC, and operate the 50-50 developer JV model seems counterintuitive.
Back to the focus issue. I think that, it is tempting to go completely vertical, but everyone needs to focus. And where we bring the biggest value is in the volumetric modular construction side. There are a lot of great developers out there. They know what they're doing already. I don't know that Vantum has as much to add in terms of improving their development model, other than the part that we are active in, which is, making the volumetric modular structures and delivering them. So, that's where we bring value, and so we're leveraging that.
Yeah. So knowing your space and sticking with it to be as successful as you can with your process. And I like that answer. Thank you. All right. So my question, in the U.S., addressing the climate agenda often generates a conversation with many different opinions. But in the U.K., for example, there is more of a unified voice. It is something that has to be done. It's not an option. Does the American market need a wake-up call as it relates to the climate agenda? Seems like some players in the built environment are working on it, but not all of them. This has to be a big pocket, a big piece of conversation happening at your table based on, Gates and everybody else that's part of this board, because the climate agenda is a real conversation happening. Does that trickle down to you? And do we need a wake up call?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know why there is still, debate about it. Frankly, climate change is happening. The evidence is there, and we can, in fact, make a difference. And even for those that may be a little bit on the fence, if I have to use a different argument, there's a lot of good business to be done out there. And so, join the party. and I think along the way, you will be convinced that in fact, it is important and it is happening. So, I encourage everyone to join the bandwagon.
Yeah, I do as well. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Great. Well, thank you, Dave. I really appreciate it. Great show. Great work.
I do appreciate it. One last question, though. If you were to leave everybody with one thing, what would it be?
I would say there's a real challenge out there, and I don't, for in terms of affordable housing, and I think the more of us that are working on it, the better. I don't think there are any competitors in this space. We all really should be cooperating. So I look forward to cooperating with everyone that would like to.
Well, when you're only 3%, maybe 5% of the entire market, that's the only thing we should be doing is cooperating. And the good news is, Chris, the good news is there's only one direction to go, and that is up. So super excited to have you on the show, Chris. I think it's awesome that you guys are putting so much energy and effort into the United States, and we look forward to watching your success and hopefully sharing your success along the way as you open up new factories and develop these partnerships that you're working on. Everybody else out there, thank you for tuning in today. Chris Anderson, CEO, Vantum. Please go there and follow them, like what they're doing, share the knowledge. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments and we will get back to you after the outro here. Chris, you have an awesome day. And the rest of you out there, you have an awesome day as well. We will see you this Friday with Mark Barenaked Willie. BS Friday, where we're going to talk about some building science. You don't want to miss that. I'm Dave Cooper, Chris Anderson. Chris, stick right there. I'll come back to you after the outro. Everybody else, have a great day. Bye now.